Hello, we want to welcome you to our show today, the Sunnyside Community Voice. We're real excited today about our show. For the past couple of months, we've been doing mental issues on mental health. And we've had various guests on our show to look at mental health from different perspectives. But today we're really excited because today we have on the show, we have Harris County Sheriff Adrian Garcia with us on today, and we're really excited about that. We've got our co-host Robin Bennett, and we've got Pastor Nash, which is our CEO, and we're really excited at having Sheriff Garcia on the show with us today because he can give us a perspective from the jail system with community with mental illness. And there are some topics that we're going to have him address for us today, and it's going to deal with budget cuts, with the money that's being cut from these various areas. So we're going to open up and we're going to let Sheriff Garcia introduce himself to you, and then we'll get into our hopefully a good discussion on mental health.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here on the Sunnyside Voice, and always good to be with familiar faces. Pastor Nash, good to see you. Robin, thank you for having me. But Shirley, thank you for the attention that you're giving this very, very important topic. Mental illness in our community exists. It has gone largely unaddressed. In fact, every dollar that goes to mental health today has been a constant battle. We have to remember that we are in wartime, and that we have veterans coming home every day that may have been subjected to post-traumatic stress disorder. And so we have to think about those circumstances. But from the law enforcement perspective, law enforcement as well as the correction side, it is an issue that we have struggled with. Unfortunately, but fortunately, but principally I think unfortunately, the Harris County Jail is the largest a mental health provider in the state of Texas, maybe even in the country. And so it is regretful that someone who has that kind of condition would ultimately find some of the best attention, best service that they could possibly get in the jail system. And so we are continuously looking for ways to address this issue before they get into the jail system. But while they're in the jail system, we're also looking for ways on how to effectively reintegrate them back into the community with the hopeful goal that they will never come back. And so I've paid attention to your previous shows. You've had George Parnham and Judge Crocker. George Parnham, when I took office as sheriff back in 2009, George Parnham was one of the first persons that I reached out to, and he has served as the chair of my mental health task force, looking for better approaches and better ways to deal with this circumstance. Regretfully, he's got some experience, I think, that we all know about.
Yes.
And Judge Crocker, I have supported her in her process to build the mental health court that she now oversees, because we need to find a better way to deal with this. It's unfortunate that we have persons in the county jail that could be better served in facilities outside the jail system. But when you have, as you said, the budget cuts, when you have the state proposing a budget that would all but, I'm being a little facetious here, but effectively eliminate effective access to services without having to commit a crime, it becomes a tremendous challenge. But I was told that recently that the legislature has restored the budget cuts in mental health funding that were being proposed. They've restored them. Now, but we got to. It's great, but you got to remember that the budget is still not passed. So I would urge the public that as much as you yelled on those cuts, please do not give up and encourage them to keep those. Keep that restoration intact, because it's not giving us more than what we have right now, but it's at a minimum keeping us from having a cut
wiped out totally.
Exactly.
That's good.
Pastor, do you have? I see you have an article here from the Chronicle that you wanted to address.
Well, first of all, let me welcome the sheriff, and I've been knowing him a long time, and I really appreciate all the work that he's done and he's doing. I think it was a couple of weeks ago I saw an article about some kind of award that they had got also. So I
Yes.
pretty well keep up with it. And I want you to know that I'm proud of what you're doing thus
Thank
far
you.
in the
Thank you,
sheriff
Pastor.
department. But the reason I brought this article, it was kitchen. It's funny that you came on the show this morning, and this came out in the paper this morning concerning the sheriff office gets approval to hire jailers and trim overtime. That should make you feel good that Judge Emmett came up with some funds, the commissioner, so you could hire people.
I tell you what, Judge Emmett has been a good partner to my office in working through all these challenges. But since I have been sheriff in late 2009, I had a hiring freeze that was forced on me.
Right.
Through that time, I've lost almost 500 employees between clerks, detention officers, and deputies.
Right.
And so the fact that we've been now in total with nurses and the part-time detention officers and jail deputies, about 150 positions. It's not what we need, but it's a step in the right direction.
Right, of course it is.
Because my employees have been working hard. They're on the verge of burnout. And Pastor, as you well know, I worry about the state of my employees having to work so hard because I don't want their tempers to run short. I want people to be treated with dignity and respect, even though they're in the county jail system. I don't want, and I will not tolerate any abuses of any nature. But in order to keep away from that, you need to have the proper staffing levels.
Exactly.
Of course,
Exactly.
And so this has been a long time fight. I've been going to Commissioner's Court fighting to get these positions, and finally it's happened. We were wasting taxpayers' money paying overtime when it's more effective to pay
Just
straight
hire
time.
somebody.
Right, of course.
Exactly.
Hire somebody.
And so this is great news, but we need to do more because as we talk about the success of this is just for the detention operations.
Right, okay.
We need investigators. There's crimes against children that my investigators are overwhelmed with. There's calls out in the community. Just the other day, a young boy was shot in a drive-by.
Right.
And we're, obviously we need to have deputies, sheriff's deputies out on the street when people, so people can see them while they're patrolling the community. Harris County has grown.
Yeah.
It's grown tremendously. Years ago, when I first became a young policeman, I remember my old partner telling me, you ought to buy some land out in the county. You'll have peace and quiet, and you'll hear the cows moo and the roosters crow. But I get a report on a daily basis of everything that happens the previous 24 hours. And I've got shootings, drive-bys, carjackings, home invasions, burglaries, robberies. I've got a city out there that I need to protect, and I need the people to protect it with. When people call 911, it rings in my office. And speaking of that, I'm even short call takers, the people who answer the calls from the citizens. So this is, this is a challenging time. It's a tough economy, but I think that Pastor Nash, you and I were together back in the early 80s when the economy last went south.
Long time ago.
And we stopped hiring police officers
Right,
back then,
right.
and the crime rate went through the roof. In fact, during the period of that time, we lost something like about 6 officers who were killed in line of duty. We don't need to go back to those
Right.
those experiences. So we need to use that history to keep us out of harm's way.
Right.
But this is a step in the right direction.
Well, that's good. Also, I want to commend you because when you came in office, one thing you did was meet with clergy on a regular basis. We meet sometime once a month, and you open up and allow the clergy to come in and bring input, give opinions, and also what we can do to help in the community now with the situation like it is. I do know that when you first got in office, you had a whole lot of changes to make, the perception and image of the sheriff's department for one thing, and you've done a great job with that. And just thank you for letting the ministers come in, and we have input as to, you ask questions. That's important because we are there, got members there in the community, sometimes some in the jail. but it's important that you open your doors like that and have regular meetings with the ministers. I thank you for doing that.
Well, Pastor, thank you. One of the things that I heard loudly from the Ministers Against Crime was that for 15 years, y'all were shut out.
Right.
And the reality is that in the jail, I got people who, regardless that the food isn't the best and the beds aren't the most comfortable and the company's not the greatest, people keep coming back. And so I just assume work with the pastors to let
That's
you
pretty
touch
good.
their hearts,
Yes, that's
Pretty
a
good.
good.
change their lives, and hopefully it is a process that will keep people from coming back.
Right.
And I do believe in our Lord and Savior, and I do believe in the power that the
Right.
church brings to the community.
Right.
And so this was my intention, to let the pastors do what they do best, to shepherd their herds and get them back into the house of the Lord, save their lives, keep them from, help them change their lives,
Right.
and keep them from coming back.
Right. We appreciate that. Host?
Robin, do you have a question for?
You know,
for
I always
Sheriff
have my
Garcia?
one
If
little,
you want
my little question is, Sheriff, what specific changes, if any, do you plan to implement to address the growing immigration problem in Harris County?
Well, I tell you what, one of the things that I've done is that, my office runs the 287G and the Secure Communities program. During the time that I've been running that program, and listen, I've been criticized for doing it. But I believe that anybody who wants to wear out their welcome, anybody who wants to put a gun in somebody's face, put a knife to somebody's throat, take their cars, break into their homes, steal other people's property, you got no mercy and you got no sympathy with me.
Right. That's
And
good.
so when people get arrested, they will get processed through 287G. They'll get screened through Secure Communities. And if they have a question with their immigration status, we're going to turn them over to ICE and let ICE figure out what needs
That's
to be done
good.
with them. In the time that I've done that, over 20,000 detainers have been filed by my office. And my deputies that are and detention officers that have been trained through these programs with ICE and are in partnership with ICE continue to work hard, and they're working in a tough environment. But we are seen as one of the model programs in the country. ICE regularly calls on me to provide information
That's
and
great.
input to how we're doing our program. Because the other side of it too is that you want to make sure that you continue to encourage a flow of information from the community, because you do not need people staying quiet about gangsters,
Exactly.
drug dealers,
Exactly.
gun runners, money launderers, human traffickers. You don't need people to stay quiet. So you need to make sure that you manage this effectively so that you can maintain a confidence with the community. Because when I go out to the community, I don't hear anybody saying, those drug dealers out there, leave them alone.
No.
You know, people say, I want them off the streets, I want them in jail.
Yeah.
They're hurting our children, they're hurting our families. And so we're committed to keeping the community safe and using the resources that we have available. On the other side, human trafficking continues to be one of the biggest challenges that Houston has had for many, many years. Today I have about 5 deputies that are working very closely with the Houston FBI office and to deal with the victims of human trafficking as well as those conducting human trafficking. We've had some successes in investigations that we have conducted, but 5 deputies is a drop in the bucket for
What you really need.
what's occurring.
Yeah, what you
Exactly.
really need.
And so it goes back to my point about the success of the hiring for detention staff. I need investigators. I need patrol deputies. I need more personnel to deal with the challenges that we have in our community. Terrorism is a real threat today.
Yes.
And human traffickers are feed into terrorism. Drug dealers feed into terrorism. And I don't care what walk of life they come from. I don't care what nationality they are. I don't know. I don't care. Some Americans, for the things that they're doing, I'd like to get them deported.
Yeah.
I just have no tolerance for anybody who wants to cause harm in our community.
Exactly. It's a good thing. I'm glad Robin brought that subject
me
up,
too,
because that is going to be the next series of shows that we're going to have. We're going to tackle the immigration problem here in Houston. And I thank you, Sheriff Garcia, for the information that you're giving us, because a lot of things people don't know. And what we try to do with the Sunnyside Community Voice is bring people on the show that can give them the information that they need. I also want to mention before I come back to you again, that we're going to start from now on, starting on our next show, we're going to add on our marquee there, our email address, where if you have a question, that if anybody out in the audience have a question that they would like answered, if you email it to the Sunnyside Community Voice, what we will do is we will get you the answer to that question, and then we will have some time on our next show, where we will give that answer out. And that will let you know that we want you to ask us questions. We want you to call in at that number, 713-731-7050, to ask questions about this information, because a lot of stuff that we're given is very important to our community. So if you have questions, please, that's how we break the silence. We keep saying break the silence, but we break the silence because we speak up and we talk about it. We're also going to be having a rally at our center on June the 15th, and we will get with you about that, Sheriff Garcia, to see if you could stop by that night and step in with us, because we're still dealing with mental health. Judge Ed Emmett is going to be on our show on June the 1st. So you see, we want to keep this going because this is a hot topic right now.
It is.
It's a very hot topic. Pastor, do you have anything else?